the history of salvation. The history. And this history is mingo. And this evil trinity has been always attacking the church. And she, in the book of Revelation, speak about the prophets. This beast has two false prophets. And it's interesting because the St. Paul says that before the Antichrist come, will be a false prophet. False prophet. The fathers of the church has interpreted this false prophet that is constantly speak against the church. He has interpreted with the empire and with the heresies. Huh? Ah, yeah? Can you hear? Is that without the microphone? Can you hear me there? Populo voce. The voice of the people. I'll put here. Let us see how it goes. At least that gives an echo. So, are we good? So there is this evil trinity. There is always this true oppression, this true prophet. That's the empire and the heresies. And there is a scandal on the incarnation of Christ. What all the heresies they have in common, every heresy attack the incarnation of Christ. But I cannot go deep on that. I just doing flashbacks. And during history, this trinity will act. The empire will become the state. And the heresies will become ideologies. Pope Benedict XVI says that we are living now in a time where there is a dictatorship of ideologies. Dictatorship. Una ditadura de las ideologías. Over all the world. And whoever does not agree with these ideologies is an enemy of men. I don't know if you follow me or not. Quem não está de acordo será considerado um inimigo del hombre. This dictatorship ideology will bring to a pure humanism. Now, I have no order on my thoughts. I'm going to do some sky jumps. Okay, you be patient with me. I'm going to do some sky jumps. Now, for example, now we are living a cultural world. But my point is, I don't know exactly what my point, but my point is that constantly from day one, we are living on this cultural world. From day one, persecution, attack against Christianity, against life, against the family. From day one, we may have sentimentalized Christmas. But dear brothers and sisters, Christmas is a drama. We try to live with feeling, but Christmas, already in the very beginning of the existence of God on this planet, is already a drama. We are speaking about a woman that got pregnant in a society that if you betray your husband, they will stone you to death. And everybody spoke bad about her. Imagine the humility of God to enter in history in this way. Now, from outside, we see everything like very nice, the Virgin Mary. But at the very beginning, it was not like that. The very beginning, the incarnation of Christ came with a lot of poverty. The world became flesh. And everybody was speaking bad about her. And we have this woman that she's pregnant. And she has no place to give birth. Think about that. The mother of God has no place to give birth. Think about it. No. We are afraid because they say the Messiah can come any moment. And a daughter of Israel shall give birth to the Messiah. We are afraid of the state. And we reject Mary. We reject Christianity. This pattern follows all the history of the church. Because of fear, man rejects God and his plan. Because of fear. We fear the state. We fear the empire. We fear society. This is constant. And it's nobody's fault because, it's the system. It's the system. But for example, I'm going to do now a sky jump from Mary to the feast of yesterday. Do you know what we celebrate yesterday? We celebrate the Immaculate Conception. Now I'm already entering what I'm supposed to enter. For example, do you know what year was the Immaculate Conception? The church always believed in the dogma of the Immaculate Conception. But only 2 centuries ago became a dogma. Do you know what year was that? I tell you. If you know it, you can shout. I can provoke you a little bit. If you know it, go for it. 18? This is when the Pope proclaimed dogma, the Immaculate Conception. Now, it's very important. I'm going to give you a key hermeneutic of interpretation. I'm going to give you a different way of looking at the dogmas. If the church proclaimed this dogma, it's always in the context of a cultural world. It's always an answer of the church for the problems that society is living in those days. It's not an isolated feast. It's not a devotional feast. It's something deeper. Now, the Immaculate Conception has been proclaimed here. When society has said totally no to God, on the French Revolution, on the year 1789. Here, in the French Revolution, a new kind of society was born. Is a point. There is a society before and after. On the French Revolution was a clear statement. Let us live as if God does not exist. This was the new dogma. Let us say, a new religion was born. Let us say like that. A new religion was born. With the new dogmas, secular dogmas. A life without God. A life, the Middle Age, God was the center. Now, God is no longer the center. After the French Revolution, what is the center now is man. From a theological society to an anthropological society. Now the center is man. And the part of these new dogmas, this new gospel, was the famous liberté, égalité, fraternité. Equality, that is a new dogma, is still now, equality. What does it mean, equality? For the inequality that all of us will have to think the same way. And if you don't think in the same way, you're not accepted. Behind equality also there is this concept of tolerance. Rousseau, those people from the last century, he wrote a book called Le Tolérance in French. He said, we must be tolerant with everybody, except with those that do not agree with us. How about that? Tendemos que ser tolerantes com todos, exceto com aqueles que não estão de acordo com nós outros. It's very tolerant, eh? This is what you can see here already, the seed of the dictatorship of ideology that Benedict XVI says a few years ago. You can see. And who is not like us? Who is the great enemy of society? Christianity. A new world, a new society, the new dogma has to eliminate Christianity. This was a dogma for them. In this new society, in this new world, the elimination of Christianity is fundamental. This is Christianity, okay, everything. Now, this is Christianity. I hope that I'm not going to scandalize you, but for you to have an idea, Karl Marx, and then I will try to add some faith on it, but at the end, okay? First I'm going to, Karl Marx says, many things he says, but one of the things he says, for this new world begun, we have to eliminate religion, because religion is the opium of man. You heard that many times. Religion is the alienation of, why religion is the alienation of man? Because through religion, you make you think in a paradise outside of the earth. And part of the new religion is to build a paradise here. Paradise on earth. And every person that promises you a paradise on earth is a false prophet. It doesn't come from God. Anybody that promises you happiness on this earth is a liar. Anybody. Through securities, through economics, through status, through a career, is a liar. And he's a prophet of the devil, I would say it. It's not, it's paradise. Jesus Christ says, my kingdom is not from this earth. And very easily we forget that. So, forgive me my handwriting because it's ugly. Then, let us continue. Don't leave yet, okay? Then, let's see, if it's loud, I think I'm doing okay, no? Let's see. You'll be the judge. If you think that is better without these things, you let me know. First, I look weird. Can you hear me? But this then, it looks like a conference. I'm not giving you a conference. I'm giving you an announcement, a little bit, but it's a little bit different. So let's go there. Father, focus. The material that I have here, we need 6 months. Look, I'm still in the first page of the other one there. So don't worry. After 1 hour, consider. I'm still in the first page. Pobrecito de mí. So let us do it. Some ideas I want you to get out from it. At least few ideas. Just few. Not many. So here, after the French Revolution, a new man was born. Man became the center. God disappeared. When God disappears and man becomes the center, who is God? Man. And his reason. Here, the truth is no more important. Even the Greek, the whole tradition of the church, the motivation for universities, the motivation for living was always love for the truth, love for wisdom. Suddenly it disappeared. Man, truth is not important. He entered in the new dogma. We could do something nicer here, but after. In the new dogma comes, the truth is not important. It comes Relativism. My opinion, your opinion. I say another day in the mass, no? What color is that? I see white. She see blue. The girl that just fell asleep, she told me that was green. The man there telling me that was red. And guess what? I have to agree with you. I cannot go against your opinion. Your opinion is sacred. It goes beyond the truth. And this is exactly what we are living. I no longer can say my opinion about homosexualism, about abortion, about LGBT, any topics. Politically is not correct. Therefore, don't talk about it. This is the dogma, or the new dogma of tolerance. If you do not agree with this new ideology, you shall be cancelled. But then, if you want to become a Christian, all of us will be cancelled. Si quieres tú ser cristiano, serás cancelado de la sociedad. You'll be cancelled from the university. You'll be cancelled from your job. You'll be cancelled from any place if you are interested in Christianity. So, let's go here. Then, all this to speak about Immaculate Conception. The dogma came here. But do you know what came after the French Revolution? Liberté, fraternité, égalité. Aristotle says that the most unjust statement, if you want people that are different become equal, this is a great injustice. Because why this is a utopia, igualité, equality? Why is ideology? Ideology is something outside of reality. It's an idea that I want to impose in reality, but it does not exist in reality. Why does not exist? Look around. We are all different. Some are lower, some are shorter, some are fat, some are skinnier. We are different. And our difference makes us la enchilada. É a diferença que hace la salada buena. Chicos. And anyways, to see the craziness of it, because we are not even allowed, I'm not saying if I'm wrong or if I'm right. I'm just saying that we live in a society that we cannot even touch on certain things. It's dogma. It's dogma. So, let us continue because I have to at least get out from the first page. So, in 19, and I finish with that topic and I go to another topic. The Immaculate Conception was on 1854. On 1848, do you know what's happened in 1848? The Communist Manifesto. Marx, Rousseau, and company. They make the thesis, the new world, the new man without God. And what is the heart of communism? I can speak many things about communism, but one of the heart of it is that what is man? When do you want to know what before you start any philosopher or any theologian, that's a very simple question. What is this guy, what is his concept of man? Then of God. What is his anthropology based on? Anthropology is the studies of man. What is man for Karl Marx? And the second question is, why men suffer? Why men suffer? Summary is that man, Marx and many others says that the essence of man is man has no essence. This is the concept of Karl Marx. The essence of man, that man has no essence. It seems silly, but this has a great repercussion. He depends on the common good. This is another idea that's not in my plan. The common good is greater than the individual good. When the common good has been misunderstood, it was the means to justify many injustices. For the common good of the state, I have to kill 1 million people. If you see last century, genocides happened. For the common good of the state, for the common good of humanity. Hitler has the same idea. For the common good, we have to eliminate the Jews. This diabolic idea, the wrong idea of common good. And Marx says, man, the essence of man is that he has not essence. If man has not an essence, he can become anything. Then his essence is liquid. Then you can see here the seeds of theory of gender. Today I'm a man, tomorrow I'm a woman, after tomorrow I know him. Facebook has identified 58 kind of gender. 58, because man has no essence. I don't know if you follow me or not, but anyways. And here, why men suffer? Marx in the whole thing, men suffer because of the injustice. The injustice in society. Injustice. So on these new dogmas, here, new dogma part 2, social justice will be a dogma. On this social justice will be a dogma. Social justice. And below social justice enter all the oppressed. Because men suffer because there is oppression. Every man is oppressed. And then comes the theory of the minority. The women is oppressed. The black people is oppressed. The Spanish is oppressed. All kind of categories enter there. Now we cannot speak about that because if you touch on the subject, but the idea comes from that. Social justice. A new way of the gospel. And there is a new gospel. This new gospel is not based on the good news of Jesus Christ. This new gospel is based on resentment. Resentment for a change. And now, why this has to do with the Immaculate Conception? The church said, from this pagan new idea of man, the church said, no, you are wrong. Men suffer because of original sin. Original sin. Don't be deceived. And this is also for us. The reason why I suffer is not the social injustice. It's not the structure. It's not outside me. The reason I suffer because I have cut with God. The reason I suffer is original sin. Catechizing by the devil, Adam and Eve has believed in a lie. That God is not love. That if they want to be like God, they should know good and evil. They should be God. This is original sin. They should be God. And these catechesis of the devil, of the serpent, brings men to rebelliousness. Men catechizing by the devil, he has rebelled against God. He is Adam and Eve. Just use your imagination. He has rebelled. He has rebelled. This rebelliousness against God. He rebels against God. Man now hates God. If you go to the Greek mythology, if you study the mythology of Prometheus, he challenged the gods. He goes in the Olympus, he steals the fire, and then they caught him, and then what is the famous phrase of Prometheus? I hate all gods. This is the Greek version of original sin. The Greek version. So Genesis tells us, Genesis is the beginning. Genesis tells us the deep reason why I suffer. I suffer because I reject the plan of God. I suffer because now I'm unable to relate with the other. I suffer because I'm unable to love the other. Adam, he loves Eve, but after original sin, Eve becomes his enemy. Who made you sin? The woman. The woman. You took her from my rib, I still have 20 more. Go ahead, kill her. But before, men love the woman. Flesh of my flesh, bone of my bone. But when man becomes God, that's it. What is the problem of marriage? It's very similar if you are married. If you want to be God, what does it mean to want to be God concretely? If you want to impose your will on others, and always you are right, and others has to equate to the way that you see reality, then if there are two gods on the same room, then there is a war. Absolutely. Original sin is present every day on our life. Through baptism, it has been forgiven. But every day, man has this struggle. And all ideologies, and all the heads of the church has behind this original sin. And that's why the church says, no. The only person that is born without original sin is the Blessed Virgin Mary. All mankind, every man is born with original sin. This was a strong statement, but we do not understand. We speak about the Immaculate Conception in a very pious way, but was an answer of the church towards this new paganism. The same of the feast of Christ the King. Christ the King was on 1925, where after the First World War, I was reading this book, The Proud Tower. It's not bad. It's done by Barbara Tuchman. She narrates what anticipated the First World War. It's amazing that 70% of the young people in England, they desire to go to the war, even though that they may die. But there was this desire, and she doesn't say. Very good book to understand that people are living like $1 was a lot of money by day. Was a totally unhuman situation. But what she doesn't say there, that we need these eyes of interpretation, is once that man becomes the center, once that we deny God, the next step is to deny man. When I'm away from my roots, then the other, we all have our equality. If we could speak about equality, why, in this sense, how can we speak about equality? I only can speak about equality if I recognize in you the same dignity. Then I can speak about equality. A black, a white, a yellow, a green, we have the same dignity. And in Christianity, much more. Because we have the same Father, one Lord, one baptism. In this sense, I could speak about. But outside of this context, it's impossible. It's impossible. Then the dreams, God, a philosopher, he says that the dreams of reason can produce monsters. Illuminism has not enlightened man. On the contrary, what we so-call Illuminism, man has entered in the dark age of the whole history of humanity. It will be another chapter to speak about the what's so-called the dark age of the church that was not dark at all. There is this guy here, speak Italian guy, that he's not here. I forgot he speak about all these lies, that the dark age, what we call dark age, was one of the most lightful age. If you see all the great saints, Saint Ignatius, Santa Teresa of Avila, Saint Isidoro, a lot of saints in those days. The humanity now lost the gratitude towards the church. All the technological advance, all the new discovery, Galileo or Copernicus, they're all Catholics. Galileo never died condemned like they teach your children. Galileo is another, anyways, I cannot speak about that today, but it's, okay. Then, it was full of light. Then, with, for example, in 1955, the church proclaims the feast of Christ the King. Because Nazism, communism, modernism spoke about man, the new king of the world. And the church again says, no, there is only one king, and his kingdom is not from this world. This music is constantly repeated. There is only one king. Look what his throne is. Against any Marxism theory against injustice. This is the cross. The most injustice act of ever. And the church proclaimed, my kingdom is not from this world. So on and so forth. Then, second chapter, and I are going to finish soon because I'm not going to say what I want to say because it will be much. And then, now we arrive, I'm going to skip 3 pages. For example, I'm going to accelerate a little bit the process. Maybe we should do that several times a year because I feel frustrated because I wanted to say so many things and it's already almost 9. The watch is very fast. You should stop the watch. So I'm going to just to bring this to your attention and I will be done soon. So I want to write it down so that you may follow me a little bit. Each part I delete, left or right? This one? Left up. Wow, she's very precise. So, let us come back now to our time. On these new dogmas, now I'm going to be a little bit provocative. On these new dogmas that humanity is doing after the Great Reset. Do you know now they make this meeting in Europe about the Great Reset? Somehow they have the solution for a new humanity. They have everything what man should do to be happy. And the Great Reset means the great destruction. You have to destroy everything that Christianity has built. Now, once that you deny the new dogmas, for example, ecologism, or climate. In Stockholm, now I become professional now, you see, quotations. In 1972, Stockholm was this great meeting about all the leaders of the world where they say the alarmism, the world is on fire, nature is being destroyed, there is an environmental crisis. They repeat that more than 100 times. And everybody believed, and we cannot even question that. It's forbidden to question. Now, I was watching, for example, an interview of the guy that won the prize of the Greenpeace, Patrick, his name is Patrick, I don't know what. And he was telling us how the ONG became a political tool of the international government. For example, last year, let's speak about my home. Last year, there was a fire on the Amazon. Our house is burning. Every newspaper, our house is burning. The president of France, Macron, he's not so smart. I don't want to say stupid because I'm in the church. He says, if they don't stop this fire, we shall not buy anymore from Brazil. The Amazon is the lung of the planet. By the way, the Amazon is not the lung of the planet. The air that we breathe does not come from trees, it comes from the ocean, but that's another chapter. But what I'm going to tell you is something that this is not in the announcement, but I tell because it's Brazil, okay? You may believe or not, 90% of the Amazon is untouched. You can do your own homework, I challenge you. 90% of the Amazon is untouched. 67% of the whole land of Brazil is the same way when the Portugal arrived at. Second point, and you may be shocked with that one too. Amazon is impossible to get burned. Impossible. You know why? It's too humid. Too humid. It's impossible. The rivers that any fire that started, we die out. And I'm not saying this because I read it in an article. I started these things for the past 5 years. And the Greenpeace, the first one that created the Greenpeace Movement, he has a very good intention, but he saw how they were corrupt in his intention. And he himself, he says amazingly, he says he fly over the Amazon for 5 hours. Can you imagine fly over a forest for 5 hours only looking at trees? But then your kids go to school. The university is becoming a place to annihilate the soul and God. It's a place of atheism. I speak with people that go to the university. A girl went to harvest and she told me, Father, in 30 minutes, my teacher put in check mark all my faith. It took 30 minutes questioning dogmas in Christianity to put a question mark on the existence of God on Christianity. 30 minutes. And you send your children 17 years old that he is not even well done. Do you know insurance is so expensive? Below 24 years old. Because every insurance company knows that before 24 years old we are all a little bit stupid. The brain is not totally developed. And if you send a 17 years old to a university, to Columbus University in New York, to Boston, or to another place, is a recipient for disaster. And also the homosexual lobby is very strong on that. And I'm not speaking about people that has their own preference. No, I'm not speaking. I speak about a lobby. The homosexual lobby on this is very, and if you do not accept it, you are canceled. And I know this by experience because a lot of kids has told me exactly the same. Exactly the same. And also with the LGBT, same thing. Same thing. It's interesting because LGBT does not represent society at all. Not even represent those that has a different inclination. But they have a power. They use in Marxism idea, they have entered in journalism, on the White House, on the media, and they are 0.1% of the population and has a tremendous impact in all of us. Through the media, through Netflix. Now Netflix has a show where this guy, he doesn't know what he is, and he wants to be the first pop star that is LGBT movement. And we have to applaud, because if we do not agree, we are canceled. There is a famous volleyball player in Brazil, Mauricio. There is the GC Comics launched a new cartoon where the son of Clark Kent, the new Superman, is bisexual. And they put the picture of him. Would you like that your children of 6, 5 years old watch cartoon and see that Superman now is bisexual? Por favor, leave our heroes in peace. They are destroying something very sacred. That is the imagination of the children. The imagination of the children has to be permeated by beautiful filters. The dragon and the prince, between good, the battle between good and evil, and there is sacrifice. I recommend you this nice book that is Joseph Campbell. He speaks about the importance of mythology, the narrative of the heroes, the beautiful narrative like the Lord of the Rings, that we can follow the journey of the hero. He gets out from his country, he has to follow many challenges, has to pass through a way of initiation, has to fight against the demons outside and inside, and at the end, he has to sacrifice his life. What calls us, what we like in the movie, is not movies that promote injustice or oppression. We don't like that kind of movie. We can watch it. They oppress, but we don't like it. What we like it is to see like Rey Leon, the Lion, the King. What we like is to see this kind of movie, where at the end, the king sacrificed himself to save the others. Frodo in the Lord of the Rings, at the end, has to abandon himself totally, has to do a journey to sacrifice himself to fight darkness. This is what we like. In a movie, speaking about movie, I totally did a sky jump, like, oh my gosh. Wonderful Life. After the Second World War, was a great depression. People lost hope. Suicide was like, by the way, suicide is not new. Greek and Roman, they always promote suicide. When you are a failure, they always promote suicide. You drink your own. The Greeks and Roman Empire, they all promote that. And they always also promote paganism is always against always life. They will kill their children in such a bad way. And do you know, I want to tell you a phrase, and then I go back here. Do you know what, the other dogma that, before I forget, is ecologism and overpopulation. I wanted to talk about that one. Do you know what? I'm going to tell you a strong statement that I cannot go deep on here because of the time. But do you know what? LGBT, feminism movement, homosexual lobby, climate change, overpopulation. Do you know what all of them have in common? They are all for population stability. They don't want children. They are against life. They want to reduce the population. And Platon says 300 years before Christ that to promote homosexuality is the best way to stop the growing of the population. Don't quote me, quote Plato. And the Republic has been always anti-contraceptive. And I tell you, these things are the myth about food. We don't have too much food. Lie. Millions of people are dying of hunger. Lie. If you go deep and if you study it, 10,000 years ago, we had less food and nobody died of hunger. The world now is producing more food than ever because now we dominate the art of agriculture. Brazil, again, it's all. Brazil, The land that we use to produce is only, pay attention, only 7% of the land is using for agriculture. Do you know how many people 12% of the world population. This means 1 billion. 1 billion. And I studied that. You can challenge me. I like challenge. Germany and England, they use 37 to 40% of their land only in agriculture. And they don't manage. This guy, Macron, that spoke about the Amazon, Brazil exports to them 500 tons of food every year. What does it mean? If we stop to buy from us, it will be a great crisis there. And by the way, thank God for making some flashback. The picture they use when this famous fire in Brazil happened, we discovered after that was a picture of 2013. Done by a journalist that never had been in Brazil. And this guy, Olavo de Carvalho, one guy that I studied too, he says all those people that promote ecologism, because it's a new dogma, if you show them the world map, they don't even know where is Amazon. Try it. Where is it? They put Amazon in Brasilia. But you know why I'm not exaggerating. But the problem is, how can society so easily believe on these things? How can we so easily? Also, there was this famous case on New York that the newspaper published. Don't get out from your home, because today will be a great snow. And then a 9-year-old child opened the window. Mom, can I go out? No! It's going to snow. Mom, it's very hot. I see the sun. No! Not even one drop of snow fell. They lost like $2 million in one day. So, let us go back here. The narrative is very important if you have children or grandchildren, tell them narratives. Tell them about your life, the adventure that you have. Tell them about the old story of Cinderella. Tell them. The imagination of the children is a whole universe. The decision that we take when they are 7 or 8 years old depends on the narratives that populates the imagination. It's fundamental to tell the narrative. If your parents or grandparents has tell. You don't forget it. You don't forget. And then when you have to take a decision in life, then I remember. The brothers Karamazov, he has the same problem. Dante, he acts like that. Then we make analogy. The brain, we don't do anything. Our brain does the job for us. Narrative. Now, if a child has no narrative and he spends 3 to 5 hours playing games every day, what do you expect about this child? What do you expect? The other day, a parent was in despair calling me because the 13-year-old daughter got a boyfriend online, but they lie online. She escaped from home to meet this guy, and this guy tried to violate her, to rape her. And then at least she have the courage to say it. But like that, hundreds of cases like that. Because the kids and the parents, it's very important that the parents has a filter, watch over. So I'm almost done, eh? Don't move yet. Then, overpopulation, ecologism, baloney. Now, what is behind this ecologism? Very simple. What is the statement behind here? The health of the planet is more important than man. Very simple. To save the planet now has been more important than man. Man has become a parasite, something that have to destroy it, because he's destroying our planet. But hold on a second. This is where the whole creation for man to subdue creation. That's why all these, and I improve a little bit further in another time, all the new religion is always a contradiction of Genesis, a rebelliousness against Genesis. Also LGBT, that the sexuality is liquid. I can become whatever I want. This is a rejection of a good God, because God created my body. God created male and female. Rejecting my body, I'm rejecting God. I'm saying that creation is evil. This is what behind is the evil trinity that I delete. Is the evil trinity behind it. Creation is evil. The God of creation is evil. Therefore, my body is evil, and I have to fix my body. This crazy idea. I have to fix my body, and then we enter in a madness state. Society is becoming mad, like physically mad. And also, for example, let me touch another. So overpopulation. This is. For example, let me read what I wrote for you here. Views speaking about the Greece. The Roman Empire, since the Roman Empire, one of the reasons why Greek and Roman Empire fell was the immorality of the people. They were against nature, and the population was increasing. So much so that Augustus the emperor told the couples, if when you are 30 years old, if you don't have 3 children, you shall pay 3 times taxes, he says, because they don't want to have children. China, after this, through what they have done the last century with this policy of what is Europe is dying, my dear people. Europe is dying. To survive any society, to survive, you minimum 2.1 natality. Minimum. They are already below Japan. The future of Europe is very dark. And America is getting the same. We are already going below 2.1. And a woman, they would like to have children. But there is this fear of having children. Because of society, because of the pressure. And I take a parenthesis to say something that I may forget. And the church is paying for her rebelliousness. Because was a prophet. Every time the beast arrived, God sent prophets. God never let his people out. And God raised a prophet on this century, many. One of them was Paul VI. Saint Paul VI. He wrote an encyclical, Humane Vitae. Speaking that any marriage, the truth about sexuality, be true to its original meaning, has to be open to life. Contraception destroys the original meaning of sexual act. And many couples, they have problems in their marriage because they do the sexual act outside of the will of God. Many, but they do not connect it. This teaching of the church, the teaching of the church, has been rejected. By the bishops, by conference of bishops. The bishops, for example, the Pope. This is the end of time, my dear. This is the woman of the Antichrist. The bishops against the Pope. See Canada now. Have you been in Canada? Canada, in Quebec, has a cathedral, a beautiful church in every corner. You see the church in Canada now is dead. Dead. Empty. Priest works there. Empty. And this is one of the reasons. It's not secularism. One of the reasons because they reject the teaching of the Pope. The bishops. And they will be judged. The bishops reject. We don't judge, but God will judge. And let us don't. Okay, I'm almost done. Then overpopulation. Now, for example, in China, now the government finally has figured out because population is like that. Listen, like that. Children, teenagers, adults, old people. Death. If the wave is like that, and if you have more people of over 70 years than youth, then you have a huge crisis. Sociological, economical, a lot of crisis. Because of that, everything is connected. Everything is connected. So, this is about ecology. And, for example, now about COVID. I'll touch a little bit on the COVID. I left that for the last one because if you want to leave, at least you listen a lot already because you may not agree what I'm going to say, so now you can. So, COVID. So here is ecological climate. The health of the planet is more important than men. I'm not going to answer in political debate, but what we have all seen on this time of COVID is society has given us a statement. The health of the body is more important than the soul. This being very clear. It's an act of love to isolate yourself. It's an act of love to have fear. This virus has converted fear in a virtue. If I fear you, I'm a virtuous person. Has done this with all of us. Camus, the famous poet, Camus says, when the La Peste Negra hit Europe, La Peste Negra killed 50% of the population. 50%. And the church never closed it. If you see the history of the church, never. And I tell you something that maybe scandalize you, but it's good. For the first 4th century, before Constantine, before Christendom, all the sick, they will come to the church. And they will drink the blood of Christ. It was 1 cup. Even the lepers. What the sign of St. Francis on the 12th century, where he kissed the leper, this was the common standard of the early church. The lepers, they will sit like brothers and sisters. All the sick people. And they were not afraid of being contaminated because the blood of Christ is the resurrection, is life. This was the common. And do you know who obeyed the lepers and the sick to go to the church? Constantine. St. Basil, I read it, St. Basil criticized very strongly the emperor. Criticizing because the poor are the richness of the church. If Christ come, say Charles de Foucault, he will find me with the feet of the poor because it's there that he manifests himself. This has been the practice of the church. In Milan, when at the plague, the bishop of Milan said to the priest, go and meet the sick as if you are meeting your own reward. 90% of the priests died. And who cares? If we are in the Advent, if we are announcing that Christ is victorious, and I finish, say the reading of 2 weeks ago, that when the sun collapses, when the moon does not shine anymore, when everything that I put my security on, health, money, anything, collapse, the Son of Man will come. And this is what we believe. We believe in the resurrection. The Mass is not only the sacrifice. This is the first part. Christianity is based on a good news that Christ is risen. He has destroyed death. He has destroyed this mechanism here. And because of the fear of death, he is ashamed of himself. Because of the fear of death, he cannot forgive his wife. Because of the fear of death, they do not want to have children. Christ comes not to judge us, but to enter, to destroy death forever. This is the mission of the church. In front of this chaos, in front of this, what is the mission of the church? What is the mission? To compromise herself with the world? No. It's to announce the kingdom. The kingdom of God is among you, says the Lord. The kingdom of God is in you. And if you are touched by the grace of God, then the kingdom is in you. Then you can forgive your wife. Then you can forgive your sister. Then you can forgive your father. Our society is beast that I was talking, has two prophets that I did not spoke about them. The two false prophets that we have is Marx and Freud. Psychoanalysis has become the only metaphysics that exists. And Freud, the Freudian psychology I studied very deep, is based on presenting the trauma of your life, that you are unhappy because when you are a child, they did this to you. Lie. What they have done to us, it does not conditionate who we are. We have a history of saints that suffer many great injustices. And they use this injustice to love more Jesus Christ. Because it's better to receive an injustice than to make an injustice. All the martyrs, all the history of the church. Also entered the seminars forgot spirituality and has been invaded by Freud and Marx, theology of liberation in South America, and many other things that I could speak forever, but I will finish. So, dear brothers and sisters, courage. We are in the Advent. We are preparing for the coming of the Lord, but also in these days we are starting preparing for Christmas. Santa Angela, Maria Angela, a saint, she says that when Christ was born on this ugly place, smelling very bad, she says that suddenly 10,000 angels came to clean the place. Everything smells very good. Translation, because if you don't know the translation, was not that the angel came and cleaned physically and put no. It's because when Christ is born, life was born. Mary, the Holy Family, when life is born, when there is communion, it doesn't matter poverty. When there is communion, when there is love among each other, you can live in the worst situation. And this is not going to make you suffer. Because happiness is something inside. It's communion with God. It's to love and be loved. It's to forgive and be forgiven. And in the incarnation of Jesus Christ was the love of God incarnated. Forgiveness has been incarnated. The kingdom of God has been incarnated in a person. And anybody has a meeting with this person, he will be happy. Because if I approach life, I have life. If I approach love, I have love. And this is the only mission that matters to the church. To announce that Christ is risen. And he loves us. He loves you. Amen. Please rise. Let us make a prayer. Look, I missed these pages. This page.